Part 1. The hidden fog in the medicine cabinet and the shocking 72% trap. Let us paint a very clear, everyday picture of a mature life. Consider a woman named Margaret. At 68 years old, she was as sharp as a tack. She completed the daily crossword puzzle every single morning without hesitation and remembered every birthday in her large family without ever glancing at a calendar. Her daughter affectionately described her as the human Google of their household. Then, roughly 18 months after her care team added a new routine prescription to her daily schedule, everything shifted. Her daughter reached out in absolute tears. Margaret could no longer remember what she had eaten for breakfast. She was experiencing profound confusion while driving home from the local grocery store she had visited every single week for over 20 years. During a single conversation, she would repeat the exact same question 3 times. Her specialist immediately suspected the early stages of a permanent, irreversible decline, leaving her entire family completely devastated. But here is the critical piece of biological data that nobody told them, and it is exactly what you need to hear right now. Margaret's mental fog was not a permanent condition at all. It was driven entirely by her medicine cabinet. When her routine was systematically reviewed and strategic adjustments were implemented with proper professional guidance, Margaret started coming back. Within 4 months, she was comfortably solving her morning crossword puzzles once again. This is not a unique miracle story. It is the reality of preventable cellular care. Today, we are walking through the 9 most common daily medications that could be quietly, invisibly stealing your memory and focus. We are ranking them from the most commonly overlooked over-the-counter bottles all the way to the absolute most hazardous combination that standard advice almost never warns you about. This discussion could easily be one of the most important 20 minutes you spend this year. Before we look at our countdown, I must be entirely explicit about one thing. I am absolutely not advising you to stop your current prescriptions on your own. Please do not make sudden changes without coordinating directly with your personal care network. What I am sharing is that you possess every right to ask intelligent questions, understand exactly what enters your physical system, and fiercely advocate for the daily vitality of your brain. Silence is not a strategy. Please take a brief moment right now to drop a comment below letting me know your age and whether you have noticed a sudden wave of forgetfulness or heavy brain fog since starting a new routine. I read through our community responses personally, and sharing your experience can help another mature adult find answers today. Let us start our countdown with number 9. A very common over-the-counter sleep and allergy aid known as Diphenhydramine. How many of you currently keep a small bottle of standard allergy tablets or nightly sleep aids right inside your nightstand? It is an incredibly widespread habit, and it is completely understandable. These options are inexpensive, easily accessible without a prescription, and the packaging explicitly promises gentle nighttime rest. It looks entirely harmless on the surface. But here is what that small tablet is actually doing inside a brain over 60. Diphenhydramine belongs to an intense pharmacological class known as anticholinergics. This is a vital term that will reappear throughout our discussion, so it is highly useful to remember. Anticholinergics operate by directly blocking a fundamental neurotransmitter known as acetylcholine. Acetylcholine acts as your brain's primary internal messenger responsible for forming new memories, maintaining sharp concentration, and staying alert. During youth, the brain possesses a vast abundance of this messenger to spare, but after the milestone of age 60, your system is already operating on a naturally lower baseline. When you block that remaining supply with a nightly over-the-counter sleep tablet, the cognitive impact is immediate and heavy. A landmark study published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society revealed that mature adults who utilize these compounds regularly faced a substantially elevated risk of long-term cognitive decline, with neuroimaging studies documenting actual, measurable shrinkage in memory-related brain regions. The most deceptive part of this issue is that this specific compound hides silently inside dozens of household products you would never even think of as allergy medications. Anything officially labeled as PM, nighttime relief, or sleep formula almost certainly relies on this chemical. What is wise to do instead? If you are managing seasonal sniffles, ask your care network about advanced, modern alternatives that do not cross the delicate blood-brain barrier in the same aggressive manner. And if you are relying on them purely for rest, stay with me, because we will outline much safer physical habits for deep sleep later in our discussion. This brings us to number 8 on our list. Long-term proton pump inhibitors, commonly known as PPIs. Please raise your hand mentally if you were once told that you needed to swallow an acid reflux tablet first thing every single morning, and you have continued that exact routine for years without anyone ever suggesting a plan to taper off. This represents one of the most heavily overprescribed medication categories on the entire planet. The true dilemma isn't that individuals utilize them for brief irritation, it is that they remain on them indefinitely, when the original scientific design was intended strictly for short-term windows of 8 to 12 weeks. Proton pump inhibitors operate by dramatically lowering your stomach's natural acid production. That sounds highly beneficial on the surface if you deal with discomfort, but your stomach acid serves an absolute structural purpose. It is required to extract and absorb vitamin B12 from your daily meals. Vitamin B12 is not an optional nutrient for your mind. It is an absolute structural necessity for neuroprotection. A prolonged shortage of B12 is clinically linked to severe memory impairment, mood drops, localized nerve irritation, and a distinct pattern of cognitive confusion that mirrors early-stage Alzheimer's so perfectly that even highly experienced practitioners can easily confuse the two. A massive study published in JAMA Neurology analyzed over 73,000 mature adults aged 75 and older. The researchers discovered that long-term, unassisted users of these acid-suppressing tablets experienced a 44% higher risk of developing severe, permanent memory limits compared to non-users. But the data becomes even more concerning. Laboratory evaluations suggest that these specific compounds can actively accelerate the accumulation of unusual protein plaques inside brain tissue, the exact defining feature of long-term neurodegeneration. We are not merely discussing a simple vitamin shortfall here. We are looking at a direct physical pathway to accelerated mental fatigue. What is wise to do instead? Speak openly with your practitioner about safely tapering off long-term acid controllers using modern, milder bridges. Simple physical lifestyle updates, such as eating smaller portions, completely avoiding solid food for 3 hours before sleep, and gently elevating the head end of your bed frame, can naturally lower reflux irritation without starving your brain of vital B12. And if you must remain on them for a genuine medical necessity, ensure your team tests your active B12 and magnesium levels at regular intervals. Let us advance to number 7, automated bladder control medications. This specific category represents a point of immense frustration, not because the underlying challenge isn't real, but because mature individuals are rarely told the true pharmacological price of the prescription. An overactive bladder is an incredibly stressful issue that disrupts restorative sleep and deeply impacts your social confidence. When a professional hands you a standard prescription for a compound like oxybutynin, you take it without a second thought. What is almost never explained in the room is this. Oxybutynin is one of the single most potent, high-level anticholinergic medications in widespread use today. It does not possess a targeted filter for your lower body. It crosses the delicate blood-brain barrier with immense ease and directly disrupts the exact same acetylcholine pathways required for memory storage and active learning. Advanced tracking has shown that the hippocampus, the absolute primary filing center where your brain organizes daily memories, demonstrates an actual physical reduction in volume over years of using strong anticholinergic compounds. We are looking at a physical, structural loss of brain tissue, not just a temporary wave of foggy thinking. A comprehensive study published in the British Medical Journal tracked mature seniors and concluded that those who utilized strong anticholinergic bladder prescriptions for more than a single year faced a 49% higher risk of receiving a permanent dementia diagnosis. That is nearly a 1 in 2 statistic. The real tragedy here is that the early warning indicators, misplacing household items, forgetting minor appointments, or losing your train of thought mid-sentence, are almost universally dismissed by family members as just a normal sign of getting older. The bladder tablet is never once questioned. The excellent news is that modern science has developed advanced alternatives that operate through entirely different neuropathways, managing bladder tension perfectly without exposing your memory center to a single ounce of risk. If you are currently utilizing older formulas and have noticed a shift in your focus, prioritize this specific conversation with your specialist immediately. Moving to number 6 on our countdown: long-term benzodiazepines. I want to pause here with immense care because this specific class of prescriptions is one that many individuals hold very strong personal attachments to. These compounds have helped millions manage acute, overwhelming anxiety, sudden panic, and severe sleep emergencies during incredibly taxing seasons of life. For many, they felt like a vital lifeline, and I completely respect that reality. But we must look directly at the long-term cellular data. These formulas operate by heavily amplifying an internal chemical messenger called GABA, your system's natural calm down signal. While they are exceptionally effective for brief, short-term relief, immense challenges arrive when this powerful mechanism is left switched on for consecutive months or years. A multi-year study tracking over 8,000 seniors documented that individuals who utilized these calming compounds for longer than 3 months experienced a 51% increased risk of permanent neurodegeneration. The risk escalated significantly with the use of long-acting formulations, which naturally accumulate inside fatty tissues, including your brain tissue, over time. From a biological perspective, when your system's natural calm signal is artificially over-amplified every single night, the brain begins to downregulate its own organic activity in response. The brain's beautiful capacity to form new connections, adapt, and learn, known as neuroplasticity, begins to steadily deteriorate. Your internal memory encoding slows down, and your emotional regulation falters. The very mind that was being chemically calmed begins to lose its capacity for resilient, dynamic response. And here is the ultimate trap. When an individual attempts to stop completely on their own, the sudden withdrawal can introduce an intense wave of rebound anxiety and severe sleeplessness that feels far worse than the original symptom. This trick of chemistry makes the tablet feel absolutely necessary, even while it is actively driving the underlying cognitive wear. Please remember, you must never, under any circumstances, stop using these specific formulas abruptly. Doing so can be highly hazardous to your nervous system. Always work hand in hand with a trusted professional to design a slow, meticulously supervised taper over a course of weeks or months, while exploring safe, natural sleep alternatives like magnesium glycinate. Let us advance to number 5, the complex equation of statins. We must look at this entry with high precision because managing cardiovascular tracking is a vital priority for adults over 60. But there is a structural reality regarding your brain architecture that your team may not have fully outlined. Your physical brain is composed of nearly 60% pure fat, and cholesterol is absolutely not the simple villain it has been portrayed to be when it comes to your mind. Within your nervous system, cholesterol is an absolute structural necessity. It is the core building block used to forge the myelin sheath, the protective, insulating layer wrapped around your nerve fibers that allows electrical signals to travel quickly and efficiently between cells. It is also directly involved in the formation of new synapses. Without adequate cholesterol reserves, your neurons face an immense struggle to communicate with one another. When systemic cholesterol is aggressively driven down past a certain threshold using high-dose formulas, you risk crossing a line where your mind no longer possesses the raw materials required to maintain its basic cellular architecture. In fact, after reviewing thousands of hidden safety reports from mature adults experiencing sudden confusion, the FDA officially updated labeling to include clear warnings regarding short-term memory loss as a potential side effect. A recent analysis published in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience followed seniors over 70 and found that those utilizing high-dose lipophilic options for more than 3 consecutive years experienced a measurable increase in mild cognitive impairment. The vital nuance here is that not all options carry the same level of cognitive friction. Lipophilic options dissolve easily in fats and cross the blood-brain barrier with immense ease. Hydrophilic variations, however, dissolve in water and remain primarily in the rest of the body, offering excellent cardiovascular tracking with a fraction of the mental impact. If you are experiencing unexplained fog while on a routine, ask your specialist whether shifting to a hydrophilic alternative or tracking your CoQ10 levels might protect your heart while keeping your mind beautifully sharp. This brings us to number 4, Amitriptyline. This specific entry catches mature adults completely by surprise every single time because it is frequently prescribed for everyday physical challenges that seem completely unrelated to mental wellness. Practitioners often utilize it to manage persistent nerve discomfort, prevent chronic migraines, or ease the full-body sensitivity of fibromyalgia. It is an older class of tricyclic compound that has been repurposed over the decades, and teams frequently select it because it introduces a heavy wave of drowsiness, using that side effect as a tool to help patients fall asleep. But here is what makes amitriptyline uniquely hazardous for a mature framework. It stands as one of the most potently anticholinergic medications still in widespread clinical use today. Its physical binding affinity for the exact cell receptors where your memory messenger does its work is exceptionally high, far higher than many modern allergy or bladder tablets. A landmark 10-year study published in JAMA Internal Medicine tracked over 3,400 mature adults aged 65 and older. The researchers discovered that high cumulative exposure to these tricyclic compounds was associated with a staggering 54% greater risk of long-term dementia. And this structural wear was not limited to heavy doses. Even small, steady, low-dose routines maintained over consecutive years created a massive, silent, cumulative burden inside the brain. What concerns me most about this specific compound is the absolute invisibility of the cellular wear. There is rarely a sudden, dramatic warning indicator. Instead, there is simply a slow, creeping erosion of your daily focus, subtle word-finding difficulties, minor confusion when organizing a sequence of tasks, and a growing inability to hold complex thoughts in your mind. Because it happens so gradually, family members spend years attributing the shift to normal aging, never once looking at the tiny bedtime tablet. Modern alternatives for nerve tracking carry a microscopic fraction of this anticholinergic weight, making this a vital topic to review with your care team. Let us advance to number 3, the off-label use of antipsychotics. I need you to pay incredibly close attention to this specific entry, because it involves a pattern that unfolds every single day inside care environments and hospitals, yet many families never find out until the consequences are deep. These heavy brain-altering formulas were originally developed to manage severe, high-level psychiatric crises. They carry an immense, serious side effect profile. However, within the modern landscape, they are frequently prescribed off-label to elderly individuals who are simply experiencing temporary confusion, evening restlessness, or who have become difficult for a short-staffed care environment to manage comfortably. Over a decade ago, the official regulatory bodies issued a strict black box warning regarding this specific practice, explicitly citing a significantly elevated risk of adverse events when these heavy formulas are introduced to mature adults with cognitive challenges. Yet the automated prescriptions continue to expand. On a neurological level, these formulas operate by heavily suppressing dopamine, the vital chemical messenger responsible for motivation, movement coordination, and high-level executive function. When dopamine is chronically suppressed inside a mature nervous system, the results include flattened emotional responses, slowed thinking speeds, blocked memory consolidation, and accelerated cellular degradation. A study published in The Lancet Healthy Longevity tracked over 25,000 older adults and revealed that seniors given these heavy compounds for behavioral restlessness were 71% more likely to experience a severe worsening of their cognitive decline within 12 short months, even if they possessed zero history of memory issues prior to the prescription. If you or a family member are currently utilizing these formulas for simple restlessness, you possess every right to ask direct questions, demand to know the plan to safely taper off, and advocate for non-chemical comfort strategies. Moving to number 2 on our countdown. Paroxetine. This is an everyday mood and anxiety prescription that receives far less attention than it genuinely deserves. Paroxetine is officially classified as an SSRI, a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. It sits inside the exact same broad family as many household mood stabilizers that people generally view as modern and highly safe. But paroxetine possesses a highly unique, hidden pharmacological quirk that separates it entirely from the rest of its chemical siblings. Unlike nearly every other option in its class, paroxetine carries intense, high-level anticholinergic activity. While other options in that exact same family leave your memory messenger completely unbothered, paroxetine enters your system and actively blocks your acetylcholine receptors in a manner that closely mimics the older, heavier tricyclic formulas we just discussed. A comprehensive review published in Frontiers in Psychiatry tracked mature individuals on this routine and documented measurable drops in short-term memory recall within the very first year of use, declines that were completely absent in patients utilizing sibling options at comparable doses. The American Geriatric Society has placed this specific compound firmly on the official list of medications considered potentially inappropriate for older adults, precisely because of this hidden cognitive weight. The immense frustration is that it is frequently handed to mature individuals for everyday worry or sleep support, the exact demographic whose memory messenger is most vulnerable to being blocked. Shifting to a clean, sibling alternative that leaves your acetylcholine pathways completely unbothered is a straightforward process that can be completed successfully with a careful, professionally guided taper. And now, we have finally arrived at our absolute number 1 entry. As I promised at the very beginning of our discussion, number 1 is not a single bottle or a specific chemical name at all. Our number 1 position belongs to Anticholinergic Polypharmacy. This is the absolute master pattern that affects millions of seniors across the country right now, yet it remains one of the most underreported drivers of dementia-like symptoms in modern care. To understand its power, consider this. Any single medication on our list, when taken completely alone, might introduce only a mild, barely noticeable wave of brain fog or a minor memory lapse, something that is incredibly easy to brush aside and blame on your age. But look at how the real world actually unfolds for an adult over 60. The average mature adult takes 4 or more prescription medications every single day, with many balancing 6, 8, or 10 separate bottles. This includes a mixture of chronic prescriptions, temporary over-the-counter allergy tablets, and daily digestive remedies, frequently ordered by separate specialists who may have zero visibility into each other's lists. When your daily routine contains multiple separate compounds that each carry minor or moderate anticholinergic properties, those effects do not simply add up linearly. The latest data reveals that they actually multiply one another, creating an overwhelming chemical storm that starves your brain cells of their primary messenger. A massive analysis published in Age and Aging tracked over 280,000 older adults over a 10-year period. The researchers discovered that individuals with the highest cumulative anticholinergic weight across their pill combinations experienced a staggering 120% increased risk of developing permanent cognitive limits. Their risk was more than doubled, driven entirely by a combination of everyday tablets where no one had ever warned them about a single ounce of memory risk. This is the exact hidden reality that Margaret and millions of independent seniors face every day. Separate prescribers state that each individual tablet is appropriate, yet no one is doing the cumulative mathematics on your behalf. Here is the ultimate message of hope that I want you to carry forward from our conversation. Drug-induced cognitive clouding is very often completely reversible. I have witnessed this beautiful transformation unfold firsthand. The moment the cumulative medication burden is identified and systematically optimized under proper supervised medical guidance, the mental fog begins to lift. Your memory centers can return, your vibrant personality reemerges, and clarity returns. Your physical brain is not a static, broken organ. It is an incredibly adaptive, resilient, and masterfully designed matrix that is fully capable of healing when you finally grant it the clean conditions it requires to function. To take absolute control of your cognitive health and protect your autonomy starting this week, implement these 5 concrete structural steps. Step 1. Document every single input. Take a clean sheet of paper and write down absolutely everything that enters your system. Include your official prescriptions, your over-the-counter allergy remedies, your morning acid reflux tablets, and the nightly PM sleep aids you only take occasionally. Leave absolutely nothing off the list. Step 2. Evaluate your cumulative scale. Utilize freely accessible public online tools known as the Anticholinergic Cognitive Burden Scale. This framework allows you to easily look up each ingredient on your list and see the exact risk score it carries, giving you a clear view of your total mental workload. Step 3. Coordinate a structured review. Reach out to your primary care provider and use this exact phrase. I would like to schedule a formal medication review to thoroughly assess my cumulative anticholinergic burden. Any compassionate, high-level professional will be deeply impressed by your personal advocacy and will welcome the discussion. Step 4. Explore the path of deprescribing. Inquire specifically about deprescribing. This is an established, rapidly growing field of geriatric care focused on the intentional, safely supervised tapering of compounds that are no longer necessary or whose cognitive risks heavily outweigh their surface benefits. Step 5. Prioritize specialized guidance. If a source ever dismisses your honest inquiries regarding memory-related side effects, seek a second opinion. You can also request a comprehensive review from a specialized geriatric pharmacist, a dedicated branch of pharmacology focused entirely on how medications interact inside a mature framework. Your mind and your independent mobility are worth protecting. Spend your next 30 days tracking your daily energy, asking the right questions, and standing steady as an active advocate for your own health. Thank you so much for exploring these vital scientific strategies with me today. Take outstanding care of your health, look after one another, and I look forward to seeing you right here in our next episode.